Hey guys, you are listening to Vol. We're going to be talking about Tagline, the tournament, which is basically a series of narrative missions where the background is supposed to play a little bit of a role, or the missions are designed according to what's happening with Tony the Tigbalang and the combined army. So we're in the middle of Armulus Swap Month, if you didn't see my previous video, in which I have to play Neoterra Capitoline Army, and Admiral JCJF has to play Imperial Service. So those are our main factions. We're swapping models for a month, so that's the rules. So because there's a tournament in the middle of this month, he's coming along with his ISS, and I'm coming along with my NCA. So how do we solve the problem of winning tagline missions? Well, trick is just to take the normal missions, the normal lists that I'd normally take. You're allowed two army lists. One of them has to be a limited insertion list because one of the missions is limited insertion. So chances are that one list will be played only for that mission, and for the other 4 games, there'll be another all-rounder sort of list. So I'm just going to dive into it. My main list is a 20 order list, which has basically 2 full groups of regular orders with a bulleteer in each group. And the thinking behind that is that there's no way that my opponent can, strip 2 orders off both groups with a command token. So there's always going to be a bulleteer with 8 orders to burn through. There's obviously a hacker which can switch the assistive fire between the 2 of them. The thinking behind this is that some missions you're just much better off going second, but if I deliberately build a list around going first, it allows me to have a better chance in those missions where I don't get to go second. Also, there are going to be some tables which are set up where there's just not enough places to hide 20 models, so it's better off to go first. And I quite like the bulleteers against stuff that has Dogged and NWI. I mean, there's so many reasons to take bulleteers, but then you fill the list out with the rest of the normal things that Pano is good with. So NCA can take 3 Fugazi drone bots. They go in there straight away. The Fusilier Link team all go in there. I've taken the one with the HMG because there's no tag, there's no heavy infantry, so the Fusilier with HMG often just does that job, the HMG work. Trauma dock in there to revive the missile launcher if needs be. And then second group, we've got the Alive team, the CSUs, the Auxiliars on the 3rd page. Pathfinder, I think, is really quite essential for Sensor, because the list doesn't really have much of a way of dealing with the markers otherwise. But there's just so much hacking here. The great thing about the bulleteers is they're screaming along the flank and killing things, but sometimes they'll get in range of an enemy hackable target, and you've got 5 hackers in this list: the Hexa killer hacker, the Fusilier standard hacker, another killer hacker, white noise hacking device, and assault hacking device. So this list really brings the info war, and we'll see them in action for most of the games this tournament. But I have to play a limited insertion list as well. So double Swiss Guard, we've got the missile and the assault hacker, the Aquila, HMG, the Fusilier Link team, the killer hacker, and the trauma dock. The trauma dock there to help out when the Swiss Guard or the Aquila gets unlucky with shooting. But normally I don't like the Swiss Guard hacker. But in the context of limited insertion, you have to actually get the right amount of points to get up to 300. If you take too many smaller, inefficient units, you just can't reach 300 with 10 orders. Whereas if you take the tag, sometimes it works around the other way. You just have to sort of build your entire list around one model, and it's not very well supported. But the Swiss Guard assault hacking device means you've got a very expensive model, which is very hard to kill if you play him correctly, and he acts as your specialist, and he can be a good backup late game for killing things in the scrum in the midfield. With 10 orders, sometimes you need to do more of the damage in your opponent's turn, so that's why the Swiss Guard missile launcher there. Plus, he's a really good profile anyway. And the Aquila Guard, although I don't normally love him, he's a bit more of an anti-Hakislam choice, and I've been playing some practice games against Hakislam a bit, and they can be a bit of a struggle. So the multi-spectral visor allows you to prevent Algebel from coming around and throwing the smoke grenade or the feed A and then moving into the smoke and killing your lieutenant or something like that. So that's the counter pick. I had one practice game, I can't remember if I put it up on YouTube or not, but we practiced our limited insertion lists, and I managed to do really well with this list against Hakislam, so I thought I'd just keep the list the same. So we'll get into it. Some of these games I might just go through pretty quickly because some of them were very one-sided, and going through 5 games in one YouTube video is going to be a bit of an ask. So the first game is on this table here. Just really important to note that one of these table sides just really wasn't much fun to play on. I think I might also be looking at. Oh yeah, so this is a practice game. This wasn't even a tagline game. So we had a practice game where I was playing against Aleph, and this scenario allows you to randomize between one player getting an overdrawn and the other person getting a tick belongs. It's the last mission of the tagline set. One thing I don't really like about Tagline is that it's random who gets the Combine Army stuff and who gets the Pano stuff, and that's not really balanced. I mean, in a lot of situations, you're going to be preferring one or the other, and luck's going to determine that. As it happened in this particular practice game, my Tick Belang went around and picked up a multi-rifle from the Panoply, and I had an Ulan there as well, also on the list. I was playing NCA with an Ulan, a live team, and yeah, they absolutely wrecked face. The Tick Belang multi-rifle was really, really useful. So I managed to just really win on attrition in that particular game. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it. Hopefully I can find the set of images where we did start the Tagline tournament. Yeah, so this mission ended up with me possessing, I think, no, my tag got possessed and I engaged my own tag. There was a soft attack there. So all the tags got destroyed by the end of the game, which was kind of funny. Yeah, then the Fusilier team runs out just to cover the objective. So that was kind of hilarious. Oh, yep. It's my buddy Logan with his mic. Okay, so I think this is the first mission of Tagline, and we've made the roll that I've picked up an Umbra Samaritan, which is represented by this Legat here, and I've got some Unitrons with K1 combi rifles as well. So this is up against Nomads, and I've chosen to deploy first and take this table side because this was a much better table side here. There's all the high ground and so forth, and barely any deployment places on his side. The mission's a bit of a weird one because you've got to press the buttons on the 9 consoles and then destroy them, and you get more points for destroying more of the ones that are on your opponent's side of the table. So he's opted to go first because going first means that you can start by pressing the buttons and you have the first opportunity to start destroying the objectives. So if you've got enough anti-material, that's great. Having a Tick Belang in this mission is generally better than having a Samaritan. However, the Tick Belangs, the Unitrons do give you more orders for starters, and they have anti-material. So if you're already light on anti-material, it's better to get the Samaritan and the Unitrons, but if you can already cope with killing the objectives, it's probably better to have the Tick Belang. It just sort of depends what's in your list. So we've got Bit and Kiss and everybody else. I usually use Switch, the guy with the killer hacking device, to holo projector 1 as Cypher. So when your opponent looks at the board, they know that you've got a killer hacker somewhere, but either of the 2 assault hackers could be the killer hacker. And if they mistakenly go after the assault hacker and try and attack him with their own killer hacking device, well, the mistake there, it could turn out to be the killer hacker, so you're just having a trade-off. But if it does turn out to be the assault hacker, he's got a repeater on himself, so everybody else hacks them, because I've got like 5 hackers in this list. So yeah, that's how that goes. So playing Nomads, we're up against Armand Lemuet, the Toha mercenary with ODD. So that's kind of annoying. And he's got his Tick Belang as well. And I've just basically stuffed and crammed all of the models behind the buildings and so on. So we've got Fugazi. It's poking out to get some flash pulses. You can see what's happening here. So what happens in this game is that my opponent moves through with Tony Baloney, whatever her name is, comes through here, and his plan is to use Climbing Plus to come in the building and kill my lieutenant, which is this model here. Actually, no, it was this model. But anyway, he can flame both of them and do a lot of damage. But the thing is, there is an assault hacker inside the building, right? And the assault hacker does have a repeater. So his tag comes through and it's like, okay, the Fusilier declares an overlord. The guy in the the live team Scythe declares total control. I've got a Samaritan which can use it as well, which is total controlling as well. So the tag gets possessed straight away. So not really the smartest opening move in this case. So tag's been possessed. Then he's moving out with his Moran just to collect the objectives. He does pretty well because the Moran, even though there's a saturation zone, can actually go, okay, forward observe that one, split, forward observe that one. So he's picking them all up. But the thing is, he can't destroy them yet, and I can reobtain them by pressing them back, right? And he's got some mines and other markers heading around. So when it comes to my turn, what I can do is basically move out with my Bulletier, assisted fire, and just start killing things. So moving around, shooting Armand Lemurt, cracking off a Symbiont armor, fortunately, and winning that shootout. Yeah, 2 Bulletiers, 2 groups, looks really good. So just moving around, clearing out the various things. And the idea is just to kill as many of his forward observers and button presses as possible, because then he can't sort of regain them off me when I collect them. It does end up running into a mine though, so the first Bulletier goes down, and then it's just a matter of moving the Pathfinder out and getting the forward observing rolls against the objectives. Standing up with the link team. Quite importantly, the link team can dominate the entire battlefield now because I've got the sniper's nest building. If he reactivates his tag, the tag's just going to get shot and hacked. And if he moves out to press buttons on objectives, that's not going to work. He's going to have to try and forward observe them. And during the turn, of course, standing people up and actually recollecting a lot of the buttons. I've got 20 orders, so it's not hard to get a few kills and retake the objectives. So that's the Hexa Killer Hacker doing that. The Doctor moving out to grab the other ones. And this is where we end up. I've got the battlefield on lockdown, and the tag's possessed. He can spin a command token to bring it back, but it's just going to mean he's going to get hacked again. So that's what he tries to do, moves around to shoot at the other Bulletier, and I think gets engaged by the Doctor, and I think possessed a second time. Can't quite remember exactly what happened though. So he moves his Doctor out undercover to pick up another objective. There's also a Bandit forward observer which moves out to grab another objective as well. He doesn't have a lot that can destroy them with, so he's having to use his robot with the Feuerbuck, which does have anti-material rounds. And then the other Moran moving out as well. So here comes the guy with the Feuerbuck. Getting a little bit unlucky though, because although he destroys the first one, which is up here, he didn't have enough orders, and by the end he starts shooting his own objectives, and some of the passing armor saves, they've got 2 structure points, so doesn't quite end up getting all the ones that he wanted to get. Which does leave him in a bit of trouble, because if I look at this, there's one been destroyed in his zone here, and then there's another one which takes a wound and he doesn't finish it off, and there's another one around here, so that'll give me the opportunity to kill that one, and hopefully will result in me getting more objectives destroyed in his particular zone, if you can follow me. If you haven't already, just download the Tagline pack and have a look at how the missions work, right? So my turn again, so the Pathfinder moves out and continues basically possessing a lot of these objectives. I think what happened is that the Tek Balang did get possessed again, so I'm able to move out with that and potentially take some hits. So yeah, it is. You can see the Tek Balang possessed down here. The missile launcher moving around to blow up. I think what was left of the Feuerbuck. Can't quite remember what ended up destroying it. So the Tek Balang goes after it. Yes, the Tek Balang moves up in the building. There's a camera marker which appears there and turns out to be a 0 mine layer. So the mine layer is going to try and engage, which is actually bad news. So I have to shoot at the mine layer and take the shots from the Feuerbuck. What ends up happening is that although I managed to kill the mine layer by focusing on that instead, my opponent decides to down his own tag by shooting it with the Feuerbuck rounds. You do get 2 objective points for killing your opponent's character. So if I keep my Samaritan alive and this tag is dead, well, that's 2 extra points. You can also see he's actually revealed another mine behind the building which goes off and blows him up. So he ends up dying there. We've got a free Doctor here which tries to have a shootout with the Feuerbuck guy, the Cyclone. If you can see that there, it fails horribly and dies. And then Unijon moving around to use its K1 combi rifle to shoot at the objectives to start removing them. And yeah, just zooming out, it might be difficult to see what's going on in this photo, but we've removed this objective, we've removed this one, he's secured these 2 here. I've picked up all of the ones in my deployment zone. I've also redesignated these middle ones here and destroyed them too with the help of the missile launcher and the K1 combi rifle respectively. So I'm up on points. One other way to do it is that you can sort of see these ones here I've put on the side of the table. The 3 ones that I've destroyed and designated, and he's destroyed one that was originally designated. So I'm well ahead on the consoles. Armand is trying to have a go at things, but he doesn't have symbiote armor anymore, so loses ODD and is not really able to win any shootouts after that. The Feuerbach still alive. I can't remember what happened to him in this game. I think he was trying to take care of the Fusiliers, or was it the tag? I just can't remember. It was on the first round, first day. And then a Jaguar trying to move out and throw the smoke grenade on his objective. He's got a double action close combat weapon, so he's able to pick that one up, but runs out of orders by the time he gets over here. So that ends the game with a pretty massive victory for NCA. Moving us to the second game of the day, which was against Hakislam. And I chose to go first because I didn't want Eljabel to take me up. We've got Eljabel here. I didn't want Eljabel to be effective this game. But the problem is that this silly old mission has jungle terrain counting as effective right through the deployment zone, from deployment zone onwards. So I thought, well, the double bulleteer attack might still work, but it really didn't. You're burst 3 because saturation zone, you're minus 3 to hit. The guys is going to put smoke grenades down really easily. So this actually ended up not going too well. Assist to fire goes down and the bulleteers move out. You got Tariq Mansouri there, of course. All of the Daylami failed their rolls, fortunately, but when the bulleteer came out, and I felt like this was the most crucial thing, this is at the beginning of a Rambo run, the guys just throws a smoke grenade and then I can't come forward because I just get jammed. So if I wasn't minus 3 to hit and if I wasn't minus 1 dice, it might have been a bit easier to kill him. Also, this is Deadly Dance, so to my left, there's a quadrant. The zone to my left on my side is the one he's going for, and the zone to my left further to him is the one I'm going for. So with first turn, it's very unlikely I'll pick up any points in that, but I might be able to get a win by getting more army kills in the classified and the other things. So picking off a few people here and there with the bulleteer, but by the end of it, just having to move troops up into the zone. The jungle also slows the bulleteers down, makes them 4-4. So I've got the HVT here, and I'm putting my bulleteer and a CSU and the Hexa into the zone. So I'm going to try and preferably keep them alive and make it harder for him to commit to getting points out of that zone is the plan there. Also, I've moved up the auxiliary team here so that if Eljabel decides to move around, he's going to have to contend with the Flamerbot and the auxiliary, so hopefully that will pin him down. Unfortunately though, all he really needs to do is put a smoke grenade here, and he's got a Janzaban which can stand up and just shoot through down this thin lane at the bulleteer, which is easily going to wipe it out. So unfortunately, I shouldn't have really left him that far around the corner. That's a mistake from me, and that just makes it really easy for him. So here he goes, throws the smoke grenade down, and I can't remember what we're just having a look at silhouettes and so forth. So yep, Janzaban here, just shooting through. You can see the bulleteers way over this other side around there. Just nails him. Ghazi's able to move out and get smoke in the way. Also, Ghazi moving out to destroy the bulleteer with a chain rifle or something like that. Oh, the bulleteer is killed by the Janzaban, but the Ghazi comes around here to have a bit of a face-off with the CSU. Luckily, though, the Hexa is able to dodge prone and get out of the way of the chain rifle. And the Ghazi goes in NWI, or Dogger I should say, and then Tariq can move out. Tariq, recently upgraded with Fatality, crits on a 1 as well as whatever dice he needs, so he's easily able to start cutting his way around and just slicing the pie onto some of the other backline members of my army as well as the guys I've got in the zone. Now Tariq is worth more points than the Hexa, so he'll have more points than me in that zone, so he'll already get up by 1 point. Then he just moves into suppression fire. So, given that my bulleteers are both down, thanks Jungle Terrain, the Fusiliers now move out and become a bit more effective here. So they're all sort of just chugging out as a team, got tons of orders to spend on them, and just picking people off, picking off Daylami and a TR bot and a sniper here and there, and just getting rid of a few things and just coming as far around the battlefield as they need to, just to get some kills. We've still got Eljabel up in the building. And we end up in a position where the team is spread out like this, but again, mistake by me. I've left the hacker just completely standing out in the middle here with no cover, because she has to maintain the coherency. If I'd had more orders, I might have been able to put her up here on the building, but as it stands, she can just be shot and then the link team goes down. So yeah, not great work here. I was a bit sloppy with that sort of play, so I could have avoided that. The auxiliary team moving over, this takes them so many orders, but they eventually get Tariq by shooting him and getting him with the flamer for burning him and so forth. So eventually, after a number of orders, I think we finally take him out. And the auxiliary team trying to get a discover off on Al Jabal, but not succeeding. So elsewhere, we've got a Ghazi moving around my right-hand flank. There's a CSU in suppression fire who does not get jammered by the end of it. That's fine. A flashball spot does manage to flash him, so it stuns him. So many Ghazis, so much smoke. This Ghazi is able to put the smoke grenade down in a place where there's a line that can be drawn through here where the aforementioned Fusilier hacker can be shot at by the Janzaban through the smoke. And of course, even though she can shoot back, she's only a Fusilier. The Janzaban is easily able to kill her, and that means the link team is down, so we can actually shoot this Fusilier as well. Tries to kill the HMG, but the HMG passes armor saves and goes guts behind the cover. So yeah, just a bit of a bad day for Pano, and he managed to retreat back behind here. So with my final turn here, the trauma dot comes up to try and shoot the Ghazi, but throws the smoke down. Unfortunate. Reform the link team and move the HMG around to fire at the Janzaban, who does get shot down, but of course is unconscious. That allows me to, I think, get telemetry with my Pathfinder bot. Yeah, so he has telemetry, just picks up the classified, quite important, and ends up here just in case he doesn't move anything into the enemy zone, so I might be able to end the game in his zone. Unluckily for me, though, the Janzaban ends up rolling the successful regen, so revives with the regen, Ghazi and a CSU in close combat, which is a draw. It's a bit of a stalemate for both sides. Sniper tries to come out and do some damage, but I can't remember what he achieved. Honestly, I can't remember what happened there. Moves his own sensor bot into his own zone to help out here, just so that he doesn't lose the points. Also, I believe has a classified he can pick up. Can't quite remember. I think he had telemetry as well. Janzaban stands up and shoots back at my HMG and destroys him. So that's really bad news. I was really hoping to keep the Janzaban down. And I think that was where the game ended. So after all the dust had cleared, he had picked up, I think, 1 point for the designated zones, and we'd both got classifieds. So the winner would basically have been determined on army points. We worked out that if I had more army points, I'd get an extra two points and make it a draw, because he had more designated zones by the end of the game, and there was one round where he had more zones, so he was up 2. I could have made up for that deficit by having killed more, and to me it looked like I hadn't. Especially since the Janzaban came back, the HMG died, I didn't get rid of El Jabal, but after we counted everything up, I had 179 points surviving, and he had 178, so it looked like that I'd killed more, so it was a draw. But then we realized, oh wait a second, one of the auxiliary bots was destroyed. The one that went after Tariq actually went down. So do you get the victory points for killing that 3-point bot? After talking about it as a group, like not just me and my opponent here, but all of us, I think the consensus is that the bot doesn't count as being destroyed when you're adding up what's left. But the scenario specifically says army points killed, not about how much you had surviving. So the extra 3-point bot does count there. So because of a 3-point swing, this turned out to be a loss instead of a draw. So interesting result. I felt like I deserved a loss though, because I didn't play. I made 2 very important mistakes, and he did get a little bit lucky with reviving the Janzaban and stuff like that. So that's how that went. On to game 3 though, which is the limited insertion game. And not only is it the limited insertion game, but it's up against the guy that I'm army swapping with, the Imperial Service, aka Admiral JCJF, playing my Imperial Service while I'm playing his NCA. Now, he won the role. He's playing Sun Ce, so he's got a much higher whip than me. He won the role and opted to go for second turn, which is not bad because this is show of force where you really just need to end with a guy in base to base with a middle objective and you win it outright. So hey, ninja, no problem. Thing is though that going first you are playing in limited insertion and there's no -2 orders for a 10 for a command token. Also, the deployment zones are 16 inches up, so I can start further up, I can be more order efficient. So what's going on here is that there's a TO camo marker, which is a Swiss Guard missile. There's a Hexa here. There is a Quila Guard with HMG. We've got the Link team, most importantly the missile launcher there, and the rest of them are in the building, right? So these guys are here to do the damage. On his side of, here's the rest of my deployments. So you can see where the Link team is. On his side, he's got a Sen Warrior in the Zanying Link, and he's got a Celestial Guard Link, just pure Celestial Guards. You know, you've got the Sniper, the Spitfire, the Smoke Guy, a couple of other plebs, porting shotgun. So here they all are here behind these boxes. The Sniper Rifle is not prone, so I'm able to shoot at him first turn. Got a soft attack to the back too with the Yud bot, and my deployment here with the HMG. So first turn, I'm going for Sun Zi. He's stood him out here. In the first order, I decided to move out with the HMG first and actually shoot at the sniper. And at the time, I was thinking, man, this dice roll is going to determine the game. I hate Infinity games like this, where it's sort of like, oh, it's just, you know, a roll off. You know, you've got to take a risk. If the Aquila Guard dies, I'm going to have a real hard time of it. I came home after that game and I decided to actually look at it in what do you call that thing? Infinity Army. So let's just have a little look at. I'll just bring up the Infinity. Oh, dice calculator. Sorry, is what I meant. Where's dice calculator? I'll just bring this across. So if we pick Pan-Oceania and we take the Aquila Guard heavy infantry, who's a ballistic skill 15 heavy infantry, which is awesome, and let's say he's a good range band, which he was, and with cover, which he was. And then he's up against not Pan-Oceania, Yu Ching, and he's up against a Celestial Guard, who is using a sniper rifle with double action ammo, and at the good range band, he's in a 5-man link team, and he's in cover. So if I've got that, we roll the dice, and when we work it out, apparently it's a 55% chance that the Aquila Guard will take him out, and that's all we really need. 25% chance of a failure, in which case we just keep shooting. But only a 20% chance of the Aquila Guard taking a single wound. But the important stat here is the 7.41% chance of the Aquila Guard just dying outright. So you can imagine a situation where the Celestial Guard rolls one hit, and I've got to take 2 saves and fail them both. Or a situation where he hits me twice and I've got to take like 3 saves. So if that happens, then I shoot at him with the Swiss Guard, and the Swiss Guard is like only a single dice on a 15 versus his 2 dice on 8s because of the TO camo, to try and kill him that way. And if I still get shot, well, the Trauma Doc's there to try and revive him. So at the time I thought, well, really, you know, a bit risky odds, kind of like it's a high risk, high reward kind of thing. But looking at the stats, it was a low risk, high reward, because the likelihood of me just getting taken out of the game is not that great. If I'd taken just a single wound, I could have pulled back and then tried it with something else, just to be very cautious. But the reward for pulling that off is that I can now start moving out, and he's got Sun Tzu sitting right here to hit me with the flash pulse, right? Now, I don't want to say that this is like a massively grave error, but I still think it's an error, because he's just sort of cutting around to here, and with the flash pulse, he's like +3 with the flash pulse, so he's hitting me on a crazily high number. But the Aquila Guard is still shooting at ballistic skill 15 with 4 dice. So worst case scenario for me here is the Aquila Guard gets blinded and then has to walk backwards. And just survive for another day, and my opponent carries on with 9 orders and we have a game of it. But best case scenario is that Sun Tzu actually just gets wrecked, and he's in loss of lieutenant straight away and down 2 orders. So yeah, I didn't really feel that he should have been AOing first turn. Turn 2 and 3, yes, because you've got less stuff to do and you can't really afford to be doing face-to-face rolls too much. So Sun Tzu is just sitting there. Aquila Guard comes around. Aquila Guard managed to get into a face-to-face roll where it's sort of like think 12s to hit against one dice with quite a high number. Quilligar does manage to win the face-to-face roll, and in this situation, Sun Tzu actually does have a chance to fall back and not be seen anymore. But he decides to sort of stay near the ledge enough that he can get shot again. So Quilligar just keeps shooting at him and wrecks him. So that's Sun Tzu down, and then just moving around the side, shooting the soft attack, killing that, shooting at the Sien Warrior, knocking that into cover as well. And by the end of that, the Quilligard is able to just get into a position where he's behind the wall, so it's going to take a fair bit of effort to remove him, and I've already shot 3 models. So we've got the missile launcher standing up here. My opponent's lost a lieutenant. He decides to take a couple of sort of desperate gambles at this point. The Sien Warrior is back here shooting at the missile launcher, which turns out to be good range of the missile launcher, but not good range for the HMG because there's a 6-inch gap or an 8-inch gap where it's sort of different. So a Sien Warrior just gets wrecked there as well. He's got a Spitfire Celestial Guard, which is not really even an interlink, so that gets blasted by the missile launcher as well. At some stage, he tries to move around with a boarding shotgun, I think, after putting the smoke grenade down. So the boarding shotgun does come after the Quilligard and eventually gets him. So that's at least something off the table. But then for the rest of the game, it's sort of like, well, NCA's got 9 orders, so it's just wreckage. You know, picking up the classified, pressing the buttons various places, just going after them. And by the end of my 3rd turn, there are no models left for ISS. It was just dead. So looking back at it, I feel like just a couple of mistakes, deployment issues. There shouldn't really have been like a sniper rifle sticking out because he's going to die knowing what's there. I mean, because my opponent can see what I've deployed. And Sun Tzu shouldn't have hung out there either. He should have waited for later in the game where his arrows are a bit more reliable. We talked about limited insertion from Imperial Service after that game, and my opponent there, City, was struggling with coming up with some lists, and then after that particular tournament, I was talking to my other friend who plays Hakkaslam about the kinds of lists you can play with Imperial Service which are limited assertion. And I just want to sort of point out what I would take in that situation. What I would do is I would go, well, this is a faction that's really good at using smoke, but you don't necessarily have to. I mean, I still take the Ascend Lieutenant with the HMG, just because I need a Lieutenant, but I've got enough points to take a full group of Wuming. So we've got the HMG in there, we've got the couple of chain rifles, and we've got at least 1 specialist. Then we could put the Zanying missile launcher in there as well. After that, you want the Ninja Assault Hacker, just because you're more likely to be able to use the Assault Hacker in limited insertion. People take more hackable things. He's got a combi rifle, which is better than a bow, and he gives you enough points to reach the 300-point limit. So the Killer Hacker is almost strictly better in every other case, but the Assault Hacker is the way to go in this sort of format, right? Of course, you take the soft attack. You get a lot of high wound models which can get revived. Then what else do we chuck in there? We can just fill out the points with a 8-point bot. We've got 12 points left. Now, hilariously, ISS only just got CSUs, so throw in a CSU and you're done. But of course, that's 300 for 6, which is a great list. Alternatively, one idea I like is if you don't have access to the CSUs or don't want to take one, you take the Pangolin, whatever his face is, the Pangolin baggage bot, and you've still got enough points left over for a Yud bot for the soft attack. So that's another way you can run this. So I think, you know, playing this kind of thing with limited insertion is fine. Anyway, moving on. So it's another game on this table. This is day 2, and I get a buy round for this game. So full points either way. So up against JSA, and it's capture and protect, and I'm going first. So everybody's just hunkering down behind the buildings. He's got his Oyuroi and his Haramaki missile team. The funny thing that happens in this game, I've got the 2 Bulletiers ready to roll out, hilariously. The funny thing that happened in this game is that the Bulletiers move out and they knock the missiles back into cover, because I come to within 24, I shoot with ODD, so the Haramakis have a hard time. They get beaten back into cover. But what can happen next is that after clearing out the ARO pieces, I've got Bit and Kiss with their white hacking device, but they've got a Pitcher and a Crazy Koala. So going up to raid the objective, I can't remember, so press the console so it'll activate the beacon. But then after that there was a pitcher throwing down a repeater near to the tag. So a little bit later, after the Bulletiers have sort of moved out and positioned themselves in the middle of the table, I decided to just go for a free hack because I had a few orders left in the Fusilier group. So the Oyuroi gets hacked because there's a repeater over here, and the Oyuroi now moves with possession into base contact with the Haramaki. And hilariously swings his massive sword. The Haramaki fails his dodge and cuts him in half with their like Fizz 17 explosive sword. So that's a very effective way of getting rid of your opponent's missile launcher. So game already going extremely well. Yojimbo moves out very ineffectually against shots from the Bulletiers. But then the tag, to move out of range of the repeater, has to come around the long way. So it's come around to where the silhouette is. And then gets into a firefight with the auxiliary bot, Bit and Kiss. And will you believe it? Adhesive Launcher rolls a critical. Just a flat 13 and glues the tag down with no engineer for the rest of the game. So just horrifically unlucky for my poor old opponent, but it is a buy game, not really counting for tournament points, so just really unlucky. So we'll skip through the rest of the photos because it was a blowout after this. I think every other model got destroyed by the end of it because I've still got Bulletiers. I've got plenty of hacking to go around. He's only got one missile launcher in his link team. So pressing the buttons, he's got no ninja and hidden deployment, so everything just moves around and wrecks face, basically. Got the link team, so the white hacking member of the live team, Bit and Kiss, after the Orc spot's been destroyed, the bot, she runs away with the beacon, and that's it. Sorry about the lack of detail for this game, but I don't really like reporting on games where it was clear as to what the outcome was. I mean, a lot of the rolls are really just funny at this point. Nico Oyama made a brave attempt to chase after the beacon and had his last order trying to shoot her down with the breaker rifle, but she passes her saves, and of course the HMG just guns down Nico, and she runs even further away into cover and hands off the ball, passes the ball to the trauma doc. Okay, so Extreme Prejudice picked up as well, and then the final game, the final game is the mission where you've got to press the button, the Show of Force button, but each player gets a tag. Now, in most cases, I prefer to have the Overdrawn with the sniper rifles, because you've already built a list to be attacking with, and the Tikbalang, well, it's just going to take more orders if you send it out there, whereas the Overdrawn is better at providing AROs, which I think is preferable in a lot of cases. This is against vanilla LF using like an Agima and a Marut, so having the albedo there is a lot better, so I was lucky enough to pick up the Overdrawn for this particular game. I won the roll and deployed on the table side that I liked. My opponent decided to go with the first turn just because he didn't really want to get wrecked by the Bulletiers. So yeah, just spamming everybody out as possible, and then the Marut, of course, she's got 2 reserve models because of her Strategos. So Maru moving out, got the Agima up here. My opponent gets a Tikbalang, so I thought it was quite clever. He threw down a smoke grenade first, and then the Marut moves into the smoke with a coordinated order using the Tikbalang for help. And that means that my missile launcher, even though it normally ignores the smoke, only does so when shooting back. So because the missile launcher is able to make an arrow, I find this quite interesting. He has to arrow another member of the coordinated order, and then the Marut shoots at him. So it's quite a safe way of removing him. I really quite like that. If you can restrict yourself to 2 reliable shots, that's great. However, the pawn sacrifice that he made there with the Tikbalang is not exactly what I would have had in mind. I would have coordinated with something else to trip up the Fusilier. So in this case, the Tikbalang has to shoot at the Fusilier with 1 dice, and the Fusilier is firing back with 2 missile shots. Luckily for him, though, he flubbed them both, and I ended up being okay. So the Marut's here, Tikbalang moves up around, and then after killing the Fusilier, moves over here into base-to-base with a Panoply and picks up some gear. Can't remember what it picked up, though. Honestly, I'm struggling to think what actually... I remember it being something that wasn't particularly significant, so that was a shame. Also, the Tikbalang, which is still alive, getting into a shootout with the Overdrawn, and I think the Overdrawn takes 1 wound from the Tikbalang, and then does get a hit through and does like 2 wounds to it, so this shootout favoured me, partly because we counted this little greenery here as basically a very tiny forest, so he's shooting through a saturation zone at a sniper, which is not really that favourable. Okay, so end of turn one. My turn, Bulletier comes around the corner and finishes off the Tick Belung. So that's what Bulletiers do, especially with Sister Fire. And then the HMG steps out from behind cover. You can see the HMG there, able to destroy the Agema with Missile Launcher quite handily with a 4-man link team because we've lost the Missile Launcher at this point. So that's what happened there. And then the other Bulletier comes screaming around the flank, does take out, there's a couple of models at the side here. One of them is a proxy engineer and the other one is a Sophitect. So I think they were both, the Sophitect was destroyed, the proxy engineer managed to get away, I think is what happened in that. So then he comes and realizes that he can't even fit through this gap in the terrain because this little barricade wasn't, shorter than his silhouette. So it comes up the stairs instead, deliberately coming into range. So the Danvanis hacker tries to oblivion me but fails, but it leaves the Marut within 8-inch range of the Bulletier, so I get to hack him. So the model in the building here is my assault hacker, and this is my killer hacker here. The members of the alive team. So it does mean the Maru gets possessed. Maru now turns around and tries to destroy the repeater because that will prevent him from getting, shut down and allow me to continue moving out. But unfortunately gets immobilized with a gotcha without really getting any kills. The thing is though, because he's gotcha'd his own tag in the last 2 turns, when he repossesses his tag and takes it back over, it'll be immobilized. So that's a big deal, and it's been turned around. Rules question. So my opponent thought that you're allowed to reset and move in the same order provided you pass the reset. My argument is that the reset is it's resolved at the end of the resolution step. So because moving is simultaneous with resetting, even though resetting is like a short skill, I believe, you're not allowed to move and get out of immobilization in the same turn. You have to wait for the reset to clear and then move with another order. But he thought that I was wrong about that, so maybe I am. Okay, also he's used isolation to basically oblivion to isolate my ability here, which he tells me gets rid of comms equipment, so I can't use my repeater anymore. I'm not sure about that either, I have to check the rules, but that's why he's able to apparently move the tag away. Although, to be fair, I did put a little repeater here with my pitcher, so just as backup in case he did that. So what he does now is he moves out with his proxy human's submachine gunner and moves around to destroy the repeater, allowing the tag to go free, and also picking up a chain rifle from the panoply while he's at it. One of the weaker choices, but at least it's something. So on my second turn, moving out with a Bulletier, which is isolated, still gets in irregular order and tries to shoot at the SMG but fails to kill it. And then we've got a Fugazi racing across the battlefield to press the button and picks up a motorbike, so maybe just movement upgrade. The thing is though, the Fugazi is now able to move to within an 8-inch range of the Danvanis. And the Danvanis, although she has Maestro as an upgrade, does not actually have a killer hacking device. So when my killer hacker Hexa attacks, he's -3 for the firewall, -3 for surprise attack, -3 for red rum, +3 for Maestro. So with -6 on 1 dice, the killer hacker does manage to destroy her. Luckily, that could have gone badly though. Then, after the Hexa reveals to do the killer hacking, we've got another picture being thrown down here. So from the Bit and Kiss, chucking the repeater down just so that we can have another go at possessing the Marut. But I believe this turn the possession was not successful. So moving out instead with the other Bulletier on the left-hand flank, just pulling around the corner, able to get some shots off and to destroy his sensor bot. Of course, the proxy engineer is just prone behind the wreckage of the bot, so I wasn't able to take that out as well. There, you can see it there. Alright, and lastly, moving through with Switch, the killer hacker, just going through in this general direction because that will allow me to data scan onto his submachine gun guy, who fails a reset, and we do manage to pick up the data scan successfully after that. So there it is, data scan. Okay, next he's got the Marut, which moves out as part of a coordinated order, just getting around there along with the flash pulse bot. The proxy with the newly found chain rifle does manage to destroy the Bulletier and doesn't die. So that's a successful piece of attacking there. He's got his movement on officer, moves out, throws a smoke grenade so that the Overjohn can't see it, and then gets through the smoke grenade through to safety, where he is able to attack the flash pulse bot and the Bulletier, but not picking up anything with the panoplies in the meantime. And then finally the Marut is able to move through here, shoot at the Overjohn through the smoke, and luckily for me, not destroying it. So leaves me with like 1 wound, but doesn't quite manage to pick off the Overjohn, which is really important because you get an extra 3 points from leaving your tag in base to base with the objective at the end of the game. And now I actually have to destroy his tag before moving something on there. So it's going to be difficult unless I can get some hacking off. The movement on officer, of course, gets stunned, I think, by... no, she shoots the guy and doesn't get stunned by the electric pulse and doesn't destroy the Bulletier. But, speaking of the Bulletier, we've got a situation where the Bulletier is trying to shoot at the Marut and gets blasted by the explosive round. The HMG tries to move out along with everybody else and gets destroyed as well. The Switch, the guy with the 2 E-emitters, tries to move out and blast the tag with the E-emitters, but gets critted off the table. So the Maru putting up a really staunch defense here, taking out the Bulletier, taking out my killer hacker. As we'll see in a moment, the HMG moving out into open ground, trying to soften him up before the Overjohn goes in and dies as well. So it's just really just going to come down to the Overjohn after everything else has died. I have to kill it and then move up to it, and then hopefully not get hacked by a proxy too. So this shootout's a bit dangerous. It's 13s on 3 dice for me and 1 dice of 15s for him. The first a couple of attempts to get him did no damage, but eventually there was one face-to-face roll which really went my way, and I managed to get 3 hits in, so that's 3 regular armor and 3 BTS, and it does destroy him. And luckily I had enough orders to come through with a coordinated and try and scan the area for the hacker before moving the Overjohn onto there, because I didn't really want him to possess the tag before I got onto the objective. But that results in me managing to make it there, and I'll just leave you with this final photo where we had, on one of the other tables, a little teddy bear pretending to be an Overjohn. But the end result of the tournament was that I came second. The person who came first was the Hakasam guy who beat me in the previous round. Obviously, Tagline, first of all, isn't really conducive to a really fair tournament because you've got some kind of crazy missions, and the fact that you get extra things in your army list generated randomly is also a little bit weird. Also, we only had 6 players, and one of those was a buy round, so really only 5 players, which meant that because the draw kind of got messed up, there was a couple of people who had to play each other twice. So the guy that managed to win... the only loss he suffered was his buy round, so if that person had actually been playing in the tournament, the result might have been a bit different. But he also got to play one of the opponents that he beat. He managed to beat that person twice. Didn't quite have that opportunity myself, but to be fair, I did lose against the person who came first, so that is fair as well. So it was a cool tournament. Had a fun NCA. You know, you can win a lot with NCA, but really it's more down to how you play. I mean, it's not really a matter of NCA, you know, being much worse or much better than other factions. Infinity is Infinity. I mean, I would be more comfortable with other factions for my style, but yeah, NCA is just a bit dry. I think they do need some buffs, but I'm not talking about buffs to the things that are already good. You don't want to buff the Fusilier team. You don't want to buff the availability of Fugazis. You don't want to buff the Swiss Guard. You just want to buff the things that NCA wouldn't really take a lot of. I think Locusts need a little bit better, Aquila Guards need to be a little bit more versatile, and so on. I mean, they need something a bit more unique than CSUs, for example. Anyway, coming soon later this month, there will be a video about NCA and all the profiles, and we'll talk about that in more detail later. But for now, hope you guys enjoyed it.